joint convention will now come to order. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Counsel Capone.
Here.
Counsel Della Sola.
Here.
Counsel DeFlorio. Here. Counsel DePiero.
Here.
Counsel Hanlon.
Here.
Counsel Matusky. Counsel McKinnon.
Here.
Counsel McLaughlin.
Here.
Counsel Napolitano.
Here.
Counsel Sani.
Here.
Counsel Simonelli. School Committee Member Abraze. School Committee Member Banowitz. School Committee Member Carrero. School Committee Member D'Onofrio. School Committee Member Ela. School Committee Member LaMonica. School Committee Member McLaughlin. School Committee Member Panarisi. And School Committee Member Parker. We have 15 members present, Mr. President. We have a quorum.
Please stand and salute the flag.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start, Mr. Clerk, I just want to welcome Councilor McLaughlin back. Happy to have you. Please read the first item.
Subject matter before us is a joint convention of the City Council and School Committee for the purpose of the annual budget policy presentation and presentation to the City Council of the proposed FY18 operating budget.
Good evening. Eric Demas, CFO. The mayor apologizes. A pressing matter came up that he needed to attend to, so I will do my best to fill in for him tonight.
Microphone.
There we go. So the budget book that you all have in front of you can be broken down into basically 4 various sections. The first is the city's 5-year financial forecast. The second is the operating budget, the water sewer budget, as well as the capital improvement plan. My goal is just to give you a very brief overview. There's a lot of information in this document, but should any questions arise, please feel free to stop me at any time. Per Article 6, Section 2 of the city charter, the city's annual budget policy, the mayor shall call a joint meeting of the city council and school committee, which includes the superintendent. The meeting is to take place prior to the budget process. Purpose is to review the financial condition of the city, review any revenue and expenditure forecasts, which are included in this document as well as any other related information. The goal of this document is to provide a very coordinated budget throughout the city. Briefly talking about the financial condition of the city, very pleased to report in our latest bond rating issuance, Moody's has upgraded the city's bond rating to a AA+. It is the highest rating the city has ever achieved, and it is only one level below a AAA rated community, which is the highest level any municipality can receive. In addition to the upgrade, the Moody's has also issued a very stable outlook for the city, and our bonds are backed by the city's full faith and credit. Some key indicators that Moody's had referenced in our increase in our bond rating was the city's stable budgetary flexibility, the city's audited FY16 financial reserves indicated 17% of general fund expenditures. The range that they're looking for in higher rated communities is anywhere from 16 to 20%. They also indicated a strong budgetary performance with a diverse revenue stream. Revenues were led by property taxes and state aid revenue, both 50% and 44% respectively. City's financial condition, from a balance sheet standpoint, the city has very strong liquidity. We have very strong cash flow that allows us to cover debt service and unforeseen expenditures as they occur. Another factor was strong management. Moody's, Standard & Poor's uses a financial management assessment methodology, and based upon that updated methodology, indicated that the city had a very good financial management policies in place. City has very strong debt and contingency liabilities profile. This is due to our low carrying charges, our low net debt, and a very rapid amortization schedule. Approximately 70% of the city's outstanding debt is scheduled to be paid off within the next 10 years. They also referenced our strong institutional framework, predominantly made up of a mayor, city council, and school committee that all work together. Some available funds that the city has at its disposal to help fund this year's upcoming budget. Stabilization Fund has approximately $7.5 million. We have free cash. However, the amount that we'll be able to use as a potential funding source is yet to be determined by the Department of Revenue. That will typically take place roughly between October and November. The city has an OPEB liability trust fund of $3.5 million. A capital improvement stabilization fund is at 2.5, and the city very shortly will be receiving an additional check underneath the community host agreement from Wynn Resorts in the amount of $12.5 million. Now, how the city budgets, there is no mandated format for budget documents per the state. Every city is different, and in terms of a formal structure, culture, and informal policies, as I indicated at the earlier part of the presentation, the city's budget policy is all determined and spelled out by city charter. There really are no right or wrong approaches, but the city does use best practices that provide some common ground for each of the various groups involved in the budget process. Happy to note that for the third year in a row, the city has received the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Award. It's significant this year to point out because the first 2 years in which the city received that award, it was underneath a new submission policy. So they give you a little bit of flexibility during the first 2 years of receiving the award. So this third year for fiscal 17 was the first time the city was held to the full responsibilities and details required by the GFOA. So we're pretty proud about that. Just some background, the GFOA is the only national awards program in governmental budgeting. It does promote best practices in public budgeting. The key focus on a GFOA budget is a focus on transparency and accountability. It does also provide for an independent review and critique on the city's budget documents. It's a one-year award that focuses on continuous improvement. So we'll be submitting this year's budget to the GFOA as well. The guidelines designed to assess how well a municipal budget serves as one is a policy document, 2 a financial plan, 3 an operations guide, and 4 a communication device. And this is one of the areas where the city is continually trying to improve to provide that level of transparency and accountability to the taxpayers and to all involved. Our final budget document is due to the GFOA within 90 days after the budget is adopted by City Council. And again, we will be submitting this year the FY18 budget for consideration. A key piece in the budget book that you have in front of you is the city's 5-year financial forecast. The 5-year forecast helps school board, city council, and the mayor put together a plan to review what the city's operational needs are in the current year as well as in the near future. It helps us identify some fiscal challenges as well as opportunities. It allows us to develop a longer-term budget policies than rather a short-term budget to budget. This is actually illustrated by the fact that our CIP is now included in this document because it allows us to plan for capital budgeting, just as importantly, our debt service management, any potential new initiatives, new projects, and the city's long-term sustainability. And again, copies of that 5-year document can be found within the front section of the document. Revenues and expenditures, there are no significantly new revenues sources in this year's budget. It's the traditional revenues, our tax levy, local receipts, state aid, school building assistance related to debt payments from existing MSBA projects, as well as other financial sources such as our stabilization accounts, our mitigation accounts, and free cash. No new expenditure categories from prior years. They're all categorized into the traditional expenditure functions between general government, public safety, public works, education, human services, culture and recreation, debt service, other fixed costs, as well as other financial uses. One of the things that you can find included in this year's document, if you look at the total amount for this year's budget, it appears that it's significantly higher than prior years. This isn't actually the case. The reason being is when we show a total number this year, we're including all of the state county charges. So traditionally, you have your general fund operating, which includes the schools. You have your water sewer enterprise fund budget. In addition to that, another major piece that should be encountered or reviewed during this process is the state and county charges. Those are included in the totals in this document. This year, we're estimating the city's total tax levy limit to be approximately $109 million. This is based upon the Prop 2.5 allowance as well as our projected additional new growth. However, the budget that you have in front of you, what we're estimating based upon this time, and all the numbers are not, certainly haven't yet to be finalized, obviously from an expenditure standpoint, nor from a revenue standpoint. But the budget that you have in front of you, we're expecting to use $100.3 million of the tax levy to balance this budget. This would leave an excess tax capacity or an excess levy capacity of $8.8 million. This is going to be up about $2 million from the prior year. Some various local receipts, we're estimating roughly flat at about $10.2 million. We're forecasting relatively flat revenues all across the board with the exception of excise taxes. We've noticed that excise taxes, both from motor vehicle, and we're also anticipating increases with a new hotel that finally opened with a local meals and rooms tax. So we are increasing a little bit above what we anticipated in the prior year. State aids come in right now, should the budget be passed as currently presented at 73.5. Our school building assistance dropped by about $100,000 from the prior year, down to 1.7. Enterprise fund revenue is increased to approximately $18 million. This reflects another anticipated 2% rate increase, as well as other financing sources. Again, we have an additional $12.5 million coming in from the Wynn Resorts under the community host agreement, and we're anticipating being able to use at least $2 million from free cash at this time, which brings us up to a total estimated revenues to fund this budget at $227 million. City departments on the expenditure side, general government's coming in at about $6.9 million, public safety at 31.9, city services 11.8, human services at 3.7, and library is a little over, just over $2 million this year, for total city departments being proposed or requested of $56.5 million. On the school department side, the FY18 foundation budget per DSE is $92 million. This year, the mayor and the superintendent had proposed doing something slightly different. Every year, because of what's happened with net school funding and the change in the funding mechanism, rather than to try to address the issue in the middle of the game, we're trying to address the issue up front. So the schools have requested an additional $2 million above the DSE foundation budget. You back out your city chargebacks, which is a significant increase for the schools over the prior year of $24 million, brings us to a total of $70 million. You add in special education transportation, which is up $100,000 from the previous year, to 4.6, bringing in the total school department request to $74.6 million. Fixed costs are up in total about $3.5 million from the prior year. This deals with our retirement assessment, which is up. Retirement assessment came in at $14 million. Employee insurance came in at $20.8 million. Our FICA insurance, Medicare, came in $1.4 million. We're estimating employee injuries, which is police fire, at $702,000. Property and liability insurance is slightly up at $1.6. And our debt service from the capital improvement plans that have started to kick in is increased to 12.6. This is up about almost 1.5 million from the prior year. So our total fixed costs are coming in at $51.7 million. Again, just to recap, the city has proven to have sound financial policies reserves, and again, a stable economic outlook as confirmed by the city's bond rating agency. We are going to seek, again, another GFOA award for Distinguished Budget for the FY18 budget. The FY18 budget is balanced, again, with nearly $9 million of excess capacity available. And the city is going to continuously work to analyze our financial forecasting and to continually improve our sound fiscal policies with the city to continue this financial success. Just recently, I had presented to City Council, the mayor had approved investment policies. These investment policies are part of these sound fiscal policies that I had referred to City Council. And with that, unless there are any questions, that wraps up my presentation to the two committees.
Is there a motion to refer to the Budget Committee?
Make a motion.
The motion
refer to the
before us,
budget.
if I may, and if someone could just make this motion, I'll read it because it's rather lengthy. To refer to the Committee on Budget for meeting dates set by the clerk of committees, being Wednesday, May 31st at 6 p.m. for the school budget, Saturday, June 3rd at 8 a.m. for the city budget. 6 members shall constitute a quorum unless otherwise specified. Mayor, city auditor, budget director, mayor's chief of staff shall be invited to appear at budget hearings to answer questions. Department heads requested to have the following information available for the committee. Total amount expended to date in the 2017 budget for all line items. The amount they expect to be unexpended at the end of the year from their FY17 budget, and from what account. All open purchase orders in the department, names of funded positions but unfilled during the course of the year, whether or not expected to fill said positions in the near future. Committee on Budget to report out to the City Council for their meeting on Monday, June 12th of 2017. All budget hearing meetings shall be televised. Copy of the budget shall be published on the city's website, copy made available at the Pollen Library in the city clerk's office. City clerk to advertise for a public hearing for all those interested in the proposed fiscal year 2018 annual budget submitted by the mayor for June 12th meeting at 7 p.m. in accordance with the city charter. The notice shall contain times, places where copies of the budget are available for inspection by the public.
Motion made and seconded. Is that a roll call, Mr. Clerk? Or just a
Voice vote.
All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Joint convention is now adjourned.